Welcome back, everybody. We are back post-Christmas, the Going for Two podcast. Taylor, how was your Christmas?
Man, it was another day. Can't complain about it. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
it was good. Had some did the normal Christmas stuff with the family, but nothing too wild, I would say.
I was to say I saw that us present.
Oh yeah, the one I got. Well, that Santa got Erica and I. Yeah, it
Yeah, yeah,
was Santa brought it.
yeah.
Uh, I don't even know how to explain.
Oh, we knew I was gonna bring that one up.
Yeah, and you brought it up real quick.
Oh, 100%. We were already talking about Christmas. Like I said, gonna sit there and be like, oh, this is an us, and gets a signed Bama helmet. Like,
Yeah,
and,
now
like, don't
it's
get me wrong. Like, it's cool. Like, and I do, but like, don't be like that's an us. Like, no, that's a you.
yeah. I got a signed Alabama helmet from Devonta Smith the night he won the Heisman, and it has the Heisman inscription on the helmet. It's now currently sitting in a plexiglass case in our living room, in the middle of our living room. So yeah, definitely got it for us, but I was the one that ended up opening it, obviously. But that being said, I did get my own for those on YouTube. I got my own little K-State one. That's not signed; it's just a helmet, but
Hey.
still kind of cool. Along with the hat, obviously, I got the Wildcats. You guys see, Taylor's got his UT. He's rocking his UT. His team's in the playoff. My team, they won their bowl game pretty comfortably. I don't know if you saw that game, Taylor.
I kept up with it just to like see as we're doing bowl stuff. I didn't actually watch it, but it was definitely one of those like as we're rolling through all these bowl games, kind of checking to see how people are doing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
will
definitely
say,
not lying about that. Rolling through that game, we did not.
I was gonna say like I don't know if you'll call it your alma mater, but mine, like I said, we won our first bowl game ever, so that was nice.
First bowl game ever.
In FBS?
The first college football playoff game. Yes, they.
No, I'm talking about alma mater, buddy.
Sam. Yes, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I went there too. Stars
That,
just
oh,
scored,
like,
by
and
the
then and
way.
that's where I went. I don't know if you'll consider that yours just because, like I said,
I went there. I also went to
yeah.
Kansas State.
So, but it was one of those that I was like seeing them win that. Like I said, second year in, like I said, no, that was pretty fun to watch and to keep up with and see them kind of catch that. I think it's a big loss for them losing Keeler. I think Temple got a great coach with Keeler.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised how well they played, given that Keeler was gone. But I think it's a good showing for Sam Houston, given the rumor that the offensive coordinator is just going to take over, which is probably the most favorable scenario and probably the best scenario for Sam.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
so, and I think that's really good to come out with a second year in FBS competition. They win a bowl game, even whether
Right
it's
now,
against Georgia Southern or if against Georgia School of Deaf and Blind. Like, it's still impressive.
regardless, it's a bowl game. Like I said, that other team had every right to be there as well. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a big one to get that win there.
Yeah, the bowl games really don't matter for the big top schools that are really going for that playoff. Like they don't really matter. Um, well, in my opinion, they don't. I mean, look
Right.
at like the Pop Tart Bowl yesterday. We were going to bring up the Pop Tart Bowl anyways. That's the best bowl game there is.
I was like,
Like,
that trophy though.
it's a working toaster. Did you know
I
that?
know that thing is
It's
insane.
wild. Of course, I watched it last year because Kansas State ended up winning, but I was actually shown today. So the remnants. So for those who don't know, at the end, basically the mascot gets cooked. It's not no person actually gets harmed, but it's a giant Pop Tart, like giant life size Pop Tart, and the whole team gets to eat on it or whatever, and whatever was left. Apparently, they took what was left of it and recreated it into a costume, and it made an appearance at halftime.
Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look
So,
into that.
so what was left of it was one of its eyes was left. So this mascot only had one eye, and it was just like a half-eaten Pop Tart, and it showed up. It showed up on top of the stadium.
That's fucking wild.
It was nuts. I'll have to send you the video after this. It was insane. But then all the introductions for that bowl were awesome. They had like 3 different mascots. It was that's my favorite bowl to watch. I don't think I've really watched any bowl games, but I was watching that one just for.
I mean, I hadn't had a chance to really watch it other than the Sam's. I've kept up with them. I just there's so many of them. I think
There are. What do you see? I mean, Colorado fielded their entire team because they insured all their players.
Right. And Colorado got like
destroyed.
Yeah. I don't think I would have thought BYU would have put on the showing they did there, but like good for them.
Yeah. I don't know if Colorado took it easy or whatever. They may have. But like, are you sure?
But you still started.
If Boise State,
how do you like what?
Yeah, if Boise State beats Penn State, everyone and their mom should be like protesting the Heisman pick.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
I thought that as I was like keeping up with the score on that game, and I was like, I don't even think I need Boise State to win. I think as long as that is a close game,
that could be it too.
I'd be wondering where I sit at with this Heisman pick with Hunter, because
I mean, we already don't agree with it. We know that.
I thought it was dog water. It was, and we had this conversation at your Christmas party where it was one of those that like it's awards that turned into a popularity for the sheer fact that you had the best receiver in the country go to did that go to Hunter?
Yes, the Bolitnikov went to Travis Hunter as well.
That went to Hunter, even though the San Jose State receiver had a triple crown.
Only the fourth time in NCAA history that's happened. And not once has they not won the Bolitnikov, except 2024.
And then you had Bowling Green's tight end also have the triple crown and not get it.
Hit 100 catches.
Penn State.
For tight end.
And I was like, it's just it's a slap in the face to a lot of these smaller schools. And that's the thing. Like, these guys aren't bad like players. Like, they're great players. You have to be a good player if you're gonna sit there and like get 100 catches or have lead all three stat groups. Like, I just
it all comes down to TV time, who you're playing against. And it's like, oh, really? We're gonna look at who they're playing against, but we're not gonna look at who they're playing against when it comes to the college football playoff.
Right.
We're not going to take that into account, but we will with awards. I don't get that. And I'm glad you brought up the popularity contest. Who do you think the current 2025 Heisman odds? I didn't word that correctly, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I know where
Who has
you're
the
going
highest
with
odds
it.
to win the Heisman in 2025? I almost guarantee you, unless you saw it, you won't guess it.
Seen it.
Take a guess.
Take a wild stab. I don't know. Like, I'd like.
I'll give you two guesses because I'll give you a hint after the first guess.
I'd like to put Arch in it just because he's at Texas.
It's a great guess, but it's not it. I'll give you a hint. He's not currently playing at a college right now.
What?
Yeah.
Who is it?
His name's Bryce Underwood. He's the number 1 overall player going to Michigan. He was the one that flipped from LSU to Michigan.
I know the name. Really?
The guy's insane. The guy's nuts. He's the favorite to win the Heisman right now.
That's crazy. A guy's never made a snap.
Never played college football. Again, he looks incredible. Given Michigan's offense the last couple of years, I don't know if this is, high power, Heisman Trophy quarterback as offense, but I could have made an argument that Cam Ward should have got it over to Travis Hunter.
I mean, I don't disagree with it. Like I said, I think the only reason Hunter, and we had this conversation as well, because he didn't even win the defensive back award.
He did not win the Thorpe. No, the guy from Texas.
Thornton won. Yeah, the guy out of Texas won Thornton. And that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna give this guy that plays both sides of the ball, like, he better have won every other individual one to like justify this. And the fact that he didn't win that, it's a spit in JT's face.
It is, and like I said, it goes back to we're gonna look at who they're playing against. Oh, he put up these numbers because he's playing against subpar talent, and like, these are still D1 athletes.
Well, and I love when we get into this like subpar talent. I'm sorry, JT still almost ran for 200 yards against the number 1 team in the country, and their run defense isn't anything to like scoff at.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to sit here and tell me that. Like,
I'm pretty sure they held Juckins and Henderson from Ohio State, not like down, but like.
Yeah,
not what Genty did against him. Genty did it by himself.
I think had 193 yards and like 2 tutties on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like I said, I like Boise State. It'll be interesting to see how that game plays out. I'm like, I'm going to go for the underdog in that because they are.
Yeah, they definitely are.
But I'd love to see them beat Penn State. I also think Penn State's dog shit.
I don't know. That Big Ten championship game has really raised my eyebrows. At least it has me excited. I think that they could make a run, and if Georgia were to get past Notre Dame with Gunnar Stockton, Penn State could be in the national championship game.
Georgia, as we get into college, the college football playoff bracket.
Yeah, if you guys haven't heard, Carson Beck, he had surgery. He's not playing in the college football playoff. He is already declared for the draft as well. So Gunnar Stockton will be starting for Georgia.
So
go ahead.
My thought on that is that as we kind of get into the college football playoffs, we've got 4 games this coming week. Let's quick rapid fire for you. Who do you think wins what game? Texas, Arizona State.
Texas.
Do you have an idea on the blowout, close game?
I think it'll be within Texas minus 10.5. I can see them winning by 10. I don't see. I think Clemson made that offense look a little bit better than it did.
I was to say current spread on that's 12.5.
Like I could see it, but I'd be interested to take Arizona State plus 12.5 on that because I could see it being a touchdown game. If the Texas defense, who's been very good, I had them rated as a top 3 defense pretty much all year. Eye test wise, they've played great defense. Minus Georgia.
Clemson made that defense look in I've been big on that defense all year. And there were some times where I was like, well,
here's the scary thing that I just thought of was Trevor Etienne has run all over that defense twice this year. And now you're going up against Cam Scatterbo, who finished 5th in Heisman voting?
Yep.
Yeah. And Cam Scatterbo
and that's the thing. I think Cam easily could have been a top 4 candidate in the Heisman.
He could have been there.
Absolutely.
That would probably be my line. It would probably be Scatterbo, then Hunter, then Gabriel Ward, JT.
Which, as we talk about Scatterbo, and because I think as we're in the conversation of NFL, college football, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Because I think he could easily be a late first rounder, early second round.
He had JT, right?
No, we're talking about Scatterbo.
Okay.
I think JT's going to be he'll be a top 15 pick easily. I'd be really surprised if he doesn't go top 10.
It's just running backs other than Gibbs, who I think went 12 2 years ago.
My thought now is you're seeing a shift in the NFL. You're starting to see a lot of teams start leaning on these running backs.
I think you're starting to see and I've mentioned this to Brendan a couple of times actually. These rookie wide receivers are making an impact much, much faster.
Right.
And I think you may be starting to see that with running backs as well because
we had a conversation before we started this. Bucky Irving.
Yeah.
I would have
got that guy in the 3rd round. Granted, he was undersized. Coming out, he was known for being undersized and whatnot, but is used correctly. Yeah.
Right. And I think Tampa Bay's done well with it. He had an early part of the season. He had to compete against Rashid White, but he's taken for the most part all the dominant snaps on that. I think he's less than 100 yards away from having a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, I think so. I think they found a really good 1-2 punch there, and I think kind of going off of what the Lions have with Montgomery and Gibbs is what Tampa Bay is trying to almost copy. But that's fine. I'm all for. I'm a big, I like running back by committee. I think it makes the most sense, and it prolongs.
Unless you just got a running back that's just leaps and bounds above everybody else.
Oh, like a Saquon
or a Henry.
Yeah, I don't know when that guy's going to break down, but that guy's built like a bus.
100%.
And you think of bus, you think Jerome Bettis, but
I know we started on this as college football, and we'll get back into it. Thoughts on Saquon? Does he break Dickerson's record?
I want him to. I can understand the Eagles, not because they just dismantled your Cowboys. Everyone was going to dismantle the Cowboys. Let's be real.
The problem is that the Cowboys should have been tanking into the dirt to have a top 10 pick, but yet you won. Let's take the Eagles game out of this. You won what? I think it was 4 out of 6.
You decided to play football again. If that says anything,
and I think the best thing that says is the fact that Dak Prescott is worth nothing, because you've had Cooper Rush that is being paid $5 million a year and has done just as well, if not better, than what Dak did when he had the team.
Yeah. How long was that? Is it a 2-year extension?
It's more than I care to. I'm more than I care to even.
I was just asking. I wasn't trying to like pick at an old wound, but
no, it's still $230 million.
It's still $60 million a year.
Exactly. It's like, and I think me and you talked about this as we went into this season, that I said I would have loved to have like play your contract out.
Yeah, I mean,
and yet we didn't, and now we're stuck in this pigeonhole that Dallas loves to do.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, I would have much rather you spend the money on Parsons.
I was going to say those 4 wins comes when Parsons came back from his ankle. It was an ankle, right?
Yeah,
like just an ankle, like a high ankle sprain or something like that. Like that shows that you should have given
Parsons
$30 million. Give the $60 million to Parsons.
Well, and that's the thing. Like Parsons even came out, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago. He was in an interview and said he'd take less money. He doesn't need to be the highest paid player. Like he just wants to win.
Right.
And he goes, and his thought was, he's like, I'm sure my agent's gonna fucking hate this, but like if I need to take $10 million less so that we can put a team together to be able to compete and win, that's what I want to do. Like, and I think you'll see that. And I'm really interested when we get into like contract extensions, definitely for like Mahomes. Like what kind of contract do we see for him coming
he's
up?
Still got like 6 years on his. There's no need for a contract extension there. And he's the same way. He doesn't need any money.
The thing is that I think we looked at this a couple of weeks ago. Like if Kansas City ever decided that they were like, oh, we're done with Mahomes, they're not on the hook for like anything.
Nope.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, a lot of his was the roster bonus, like you see with Kirk Cousins, who's going to be cut before that hits. A lot of his roster bonus stuff. So like as long as he's on the roster,
like you're looking at Kirk Cousins right now. He made $90 million for 14 games.
That is wild. I still can't believe it. Honestly, I understand seeing what you have, but coming out and saying you're going to cut him before his roster bonus, like if I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm just saying, cool. I'm not showing up to anything.
Right. No, I think
you're just going to rack up those fines, and guess what? You're going to pay me $90 million. Yeah, here's 10 of it. Like here's
and we talk about that right now. Is that like that Atlanta team right now is still playing for a division spot, and I mean Washington's 10-5, and it's a 4-point game right now. It's 21-17.
Right. But Kirk Cousins can't play defense, so it looks like their defense has played pretty well. I mean, I know offensively he was like 1-9.
My problem with Cousins, my problem with Cousins this season was his interceptions. He was 18 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. You're never going to win games that way.
No, I agree, but I don't think coming out and saying for 1 year, less than a year after signing him to a 4-year deal with $100 million guaranteed, that we're just going to cut him before this roster bonus hits.
But
does anything like that?
No, it doesn't.
It just puts you in cap hell, is what it does.
Right.
And Michael Penix is going to be the quarterback with no veteran talent around him. Like,
I mean, look at Bo Nix. Broncos were in the same. Broncos are literally.
Broncos are still in the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, like, there's a chance. Like, are they a wild card team right now, or just right outside?
I think they're a wild card team. I think they're second in the. I know they lost. Didn't they lose to LA last week? I know they lost to Cincinnati in overtime, but did they lose to LA last week?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the.
I think they did because Gus Edwards went off on my bench, of course.
Let's check the NFL playoff. So they're in the hunt right now at 7.
Okay, so they're in a wild card spot. I was going to say, it blows my mind. I'm watching the Stars Blackhawks game over on my other screen, and it blows my mind how often the Blackhawks are on national television, given that they suck.
Right.
It's only for Connor Bedard, obviously, but like, dude, they suck. They're bad. Can you stop putting them on TV, please?
Right, no shit. But yeah, like they're technically 7th. They're in the hunt right now.
Okay.
But it's one of those that like they're 9-7. I don't think coming into this season, and I would love it. I think we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. I would have liked to have seen what their over under on win total was, because I'm sure they're over it.
The Broncos for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I would have had 5.5 last time we spoke.
5.5, 6. Like I don't think I would have had them at a possible 10-win team.
Yeah. And who are they playing? Oh, it's the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are going to sit everybody. So
right, Chiefs have already locked up the one.
Yeah.
So
home field advantage and the bye there. So,
but it's just, I think, and we've had this conversation, I think off podcast, where like there's got to be this thought of like you can't rely on a rookie quarterback. And I think Darnold's the best example of that. Look at what he's doing in Minnesota.
Yeah, I do think that has a lot to do with.
No, it has a ton to do with who he has as a coach, and I think that's why you see Mahomes do as well as he does, is because he has one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the league that I think we've ever seen with Andy Reid, and I think that takes so much into account on what you're going to see a quarterback do.
Yeah.
And I saw something the other day on Bryce Young. Like, if you look at Bryce Young right now, how he's played over the last 5-6 games since he's come back. I mean, he's looked better than CJ Stroud has.
Yeah, CJ Stroud has been kind of a
he's hit that sophomore slump.
Sophomore slump this year for sure. I don't know. I mean, he's had to deal with his wide receivers had to deal with injuries like Stephon Diggs. Obviously, he's missed time. Nico Collins has missed time. He may miss all of next year.
All of next year. Like, I think I saw ACL, MCL, PCL.
His kneecap,
dislocated kneecap. Like, it was brutal.
Yeah, that was also scary to see. I remember watching it.
And then, like I said, and that came from like his own teammate, which is just crazy to think.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a lot. That was a lot to even watch and just see the faces of his teammates, and CJ Stroud especially.
Oh yeah, Stroud just breaking down.
And I don't blame him at all.
No, absolutely not. Because like I said, like they were drafted at the same time, and like I said, and they're close with each other. Like you never.
CJ Stroud told the Texans, "Hey, I want to play with this guy. This guy."
Exactly. So it's one of those that like that's his guy, and it's like to see somebody like that go down the way he did, like that. It was brutal. It's one of those. I watched it a couple times. And was like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
But we'll get back into the college football playoff.
A little distracted.
Hey, that makes good content. Ohio State, Oregon, another rematch. Like I said, Ohio State had a chance that I think they could have won that match against Oregon earlier.
I think honestly, this may. It's too early to say that, given that it's just a quarterfinal matchup. But like, this is pretty much a repeat of Game of the Year. Because I think this is Game of the Year. I think the second best Game of the Year was, well, like close game, not like, oh my God, on the edge of my seat, but that Oregon Boise State game,
right?
Also up there with one of the most exciting games. But
I think if Ohio State plays like they did last week against Tennessee, it's hard to think that they don't have an opportunity to knock Oregon out.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: Tennessee's defense is also pretty good. Like they weren't bad. So
right,
I can see them putting up 45 against Oregon. I mean, I don't think they will, but like it's not crazy to think that they could.
No, and that's
I think Ohio State wins, honestly.
Right, and I think we had that conversation with it. Like you're the number one seeded team, and yet I think you have the hardest route to the championship.
Absolutely.
Like so you had either Tennessee or Ohio State. Ohio State won, and then you're gonna have Texas, which we presumably assume is going to win that game.
I could see it going the other way, but yeah. I mean, I could see Texas struggling. You never know. Like, Texas has been slow.
Right. And as we talk about that, like I said, we're going to see Arch next year. Everything's come out and said that they want Arch under center, and we've heard all the speculation behind Ewers not being there and not wanting to go into the draft because the stocks fell. So we could see Quinn somewhere next season. I've seen him linked to Ohio State, Oregon, and UNC.
Yeah. I'd be surprised with the UNC, but they did. I know UNC, again, we're going a little off, jumping around, but UNC was the top offer for John Mateer, who ended up going to Oklahoma. Oklahoma was the third highest offer for John Mateer, who was the number 1 overall player in the transfer portal.
So it's one of those that, like, I think you'll see Belichick try to make a push to try to get somebody in there under helm that can, like, play. And that's the thing. It's not like anybody has any doubts that Ewers can play. It's just he's made a lot of questionable throws. He's had some lofted passes that shouldn't have been. So I think another year for him is great for him. It's not going to be at Texas.
It won't be at Texas. You're right.
And I don't blame Texas or Sark for that. Like, I'm sorry, you've got a guy like Arch that, like, I want to see Arch play a full season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing.
I mean, he's when he's gotten on the field, he's looked ready.
Right.
So there's not. I mean, he's only had the one start. I think it was the one start, right?
He had two.
He had 2 starts. He had the start against ULM, which was a little shaky. But then he had the second start that looked way better.
100%.
And then he's in on certain packages. The ability to run the ball with Arch makes it a little bit more, dynamic and versatile. And
right.
In
and,
offense,
and you look at him,
he doesn't run with the ball.
And you don't think he's as big as he is, but man, is that kid big?
He's fast too.
I think he's like, what's he, like 6'3", 6'4", like 225?
I think he's like probably 6'3". I got it. He is
6'4", 225.
A good guess. Nice.
That's a fucking running back.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was that big.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Like, he's big. So it's one of those that I like. And that's the thing. Like, everything's come out around him. Like, he's gonna play 2 years at Texas, starting.
Yeah.
I
mean, a lot of people always say, "Oh yeah, I want to play all 4 years," and then they're like,
yeah, well, and that's all of his family has come out and said that, like, Arch wants to sit there, like, he wants to do basically the same thing that his uncles did.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame him for the sheer fact that, like, cool, you get, like, let's say he plays next year, he gets drafted. Like, there's still a lot more that he can do to develop.
Yeah.
And I think at the college level, it's a little easier to do that developing. You're not under, like, that pressure of, like, well, is this guy a bust? Because we drafted him at, like, 1 through 3. Just, like, play you an extra year.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not like he's worried about the money. Like I said, I mean, there's a good chance next year he's got the highest NIL deal.
Yeah,
definitely being a starter.
Yeah.
Like, he easily could be making $6 to $10 million next year.
Yeah, that'd be pretty ridiculous. I don't know if I told you the Bryce Underwood deal was the 4 years, $10 million.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, let's not talk about that.
So you've got Ohio State.
I think I'm going to go Ohio State. I think Jeremiah Smith is too much, to be honest. I think he's kind of, and I'm going to say this out loud. I think Jeremiah Smith has kind of jumped Ryan Williams just because I think he's I think that game put him on a grander stage.
Right.
Not that Ryan Williams couldn't do that if he was on that stage as well. I think he got robbed of one of the catches of the year in the Oklahoma game. Probably, I mean, if it would have stood, it would have been the catch of the year. No question. But to watch those two guys, the next two seasons at least,
right,
is going to be electric. It's going to be wild to see what those two guys can do for two outstanding football programs. Like,
no, absolutely. We'll bounce.
But I could also see Oregon win this one, but I'm going to take Ohio State personally.
Okay, so we'll assume that that semi is going to be Texas Ohio State.
Which is going to be great, which will be a rematch of week 1 next year?
Yeah, I think so.
But that's in Austin.
I think so. I haven't looked at next year's schedule.
Pretty sure it's in Austin. I could be wrong.
We'll circle back to it. I'm gonna save a particular game because I think it's gonna get us talking a little bit more. Notre Dame, Georgia.
I mean, I've been writing Notre Dame pretty much the last couple of weeks, I would say. So I'm gonna stick with Notre Dame, especially with Carson Beck out. I know Georgia's receivers haven't done Carson Beck any favors, but I've seen Carson Beck make some good throws, and I think the inexperience with Gunnar Stockton is going to be a problem.
No, absolutely. I think
defense is good. Don't get me wrong, but Notre Dame's defense isn't anything.
It's nothing to turn your nose at.
No, like it's still a good unit, and to go against an inexperienced quarterback in a college football quarterfinal, like I got Notre Dame probably by a touchdown, maybe 10 points.
So spread on that right now is UGA by 1.5.
Yeah, I would take Notre Dame money line personally. I think Notre Dame comes out.
And as we talk, because we didn't say anything about that Ohio State Oregon spread. Spread on that right now is Ohio State by 2.5.
Really?
Yep.
I almost be tempted to take the Oregon. Be honest with you, like I figured they would be the favorites, but
right. And the thing you got the 8 seed versus the 1 seed, and the 1 seed's and under.
Is the dog in that one, which is why
that's crazy.
Which is another thing. Like, why is this the quarterfinal? If this is a semifinal, it'd be better.
Right, 100%. Like, and I wonder, and I don't know if I sent you the Instagram reel on that of like moving instead of like basing this off of like where you rank at within like just the AP poll or the coaches poll. Moving towards something like March Madness does with the quadrants.
Yeah, you did send me that from what was it? Toffee, the safety at Texas. He was saying something. Is that what it was?
I don't know if it was that, but it's instead of like you break it down in a quadrant how college basketball does it, and then you have like certain amounts. Like if it's a 1 to 30 at home, you get so many points or anything like that. I'll find it and I'll send it to you again. But I really liked it because it's one of those ones that you look at somebody like Indiana who played nobody, and it showed really well against Notre Dame. Because like I said, I'm sorry, if you're in the fourth quarter of a college football playoff and you're down and you punt the fucking ball, like I've got an issue.
Yeah. We also only have 3 points going into the fourth quarter. You're down 27-3, and the other team. If the other team puts in their backups, it's a problem. I kind of get Tennessee's. They just got mollywopped, is what it is. I think Tennessee was a playoff team
it's also,
for sure.
They're a playoff team, but it's also against Ohio State, who I think has the best roster in the college football playoffs. And if all those guys play, if all those guys play to said potential, I'd have no problem going, well, I mean, I don't have an issue with them winning it.
I think if Ohio State had Nico Amaliva, if they had Tennessee's quarterback, they would be national champ. They would probably go undefeated for sure. My
problem with Ohio State has nothing to do with any of the players on it.
I'm just not a huge Will Howard fan.
That's interesting. No, I don't have a problem with Howard. I think a lot of Ohio State's issues start from the top.
We've talked about that several times.
I don't think he should. I don't think the AD on that should have come out and said he's got his job for next year. I think they should have kicked him to the fucking curb.
I agree,
but we won't get on that tangent.
Who do you think wins the Notre Dame Georgia game?
Man, it's hard to go against Georgia just because of that defense. The defense has been good. I I think it's a close game. I think you could flip a coin. You're going to get whoever it is. I like Georgia in that just because they've been in the situation. I don't.
Okay.
But I can. I'm just where you're at with it. Like, I mean, I could see Notre Dame winning that. I think that's a game you like to see in the college football playoffs, just for the sheer fact it's which way does it go?
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. It could go. This one could go either way. I'm just going to chalk it up to,
I think the
Yes, Riley
determining
Leonard doesn't have
factor.
that,
I think the determining factor on this is Gunnar Stockton. How does he do?
Yeah,
Does
he come out there and
does he come out and play like an all-star and we're both eating words here, or does he come out and his inexperience show really hard?
what it's giving, and this may not be the greatest example, but I don't know if you watched the Alamo Bowl last year, Oklahoma versus Arizona. Jackson Arnold got the start,
right,
which was his first start, and he struggled or didn't look great. It was very concerning. And then going into this year, Jackson Arnold lost his job after 4 weeks.
Right, and now he's going to be at Auburn.
Yeah, which is interesting.
I don't hate it.
I really like what Auburn has done. Don't let anyone else hear that. I like what Auburn has done.
I'll tell her.
Dude, they got the number one receiver. They got a used to be 5-star recruit quarterback from 2 years ago. Where he went to with a zero offensive line and zero offensive stability and shown anywhere. Not that Auburn has done the same thing, but their offensive line is a hell of a lot better. Their receivers are a hell of a lot better. They recruit so much better than Oklahoma.
100%.
Arnold has a chance to revitalize his career there, I think. I think
we had that conversation earlier this year where we thought, I just don't know how Oklahoma stays relevant in this SEC.
I was looking at the schedule on it actually last night, and it's the same schedule, just obviously reversed minus the non-conference, which they get Michigan and Norman week 2.
Which I don't know how I feel about that.
They win an SEC game.
We say that, but and I think we're going to see that for the next few years, that I think any SEC game played could go either way. And I think that showed this year with Vanderbilt beating Alabama, OU beating Alabama.
Did Vandy win their bowl game?
I don't know.
They were playing. Sorry, again, going off the rails here. They did. They beat Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, which I don't hate that. Georgia Tech team was good.
Vandy was pretty legit this year.
Yeah, right. And which is surprising because
I just don't know. I don't know if you're going to see an SEC team just get rolled, because that Kentucky team was not that bad.
No,
that's where I think
win. And I think every week when we get into SEC play with whatever team it is, I think anybody's got an opportunity to play and win.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I saved this one for last just because I think it's going to be kind of the interesting game of the quarterfinals. That Penn State Boise State.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be one to watch for sure.
So before you tell me, Penn State's an 11.5-point favorite.
Really?
I take Boise State.
Yeah, but you've been riding Boise State's
coattail. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see something.
I'm sorry. My thing
because that line seems really high, so I want to see something.
Oh, are you gonna check your site? What is my bookie out of that?
Oh no, I wasn't checking that one. I'm looking at the statistics here. I need rush defense. I want to see rushing defense. What the? Oh, that. Why is that?
And I have rode.
They're not up to date. Why does it have one game on here? What?
I've rode Boise State's coattail for one reason.
Well, yeah, and I also really like Ashton Jeanty, but
No, it doesn't even have to do with directly with Janky. It's just how well they played Oregon earlier this year. And that was a very early game into the season. I think if I remember right, that was like game 2 or 3. Yeah, so it was their second game of the season.
So Penn State
and they lost to Oregon, who is the number 1 team in the country by 3.
So Penn State is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sixth in the country in rushing yards allowed.
Cool. Where's Oregon?
I have to scroll.
Oh.
And my monitor is vertical.
I still Janty had 25 carries for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Oregon's at 126 yards a game.
That's
allowed.
Crazy. How many yards does Penn State allow?
100.
So you're talking 26 yards.
Yeah, but the number 1 rushing defense is Indiana at 80.
Oh,
I'm just saying, and Ohio is up here too. I know we've already talked about that once before, but the Ohio Bobcats have a great rush defense.
Great.
Put them in the playoff. As does USC. USC is up here on a defensive stat. That's wild to me, but Lincoln Riley should still be fired.
So who did Penn State play this year that had a good running back?
Ohio State.
So
Judkins and Henderson.
And he still ran for 95.
Oregon's running back's not too bad. He's not he's not Janty. I would say the closest to a Janty would probably be Judkins or.
He ran for 124 on 14 touches.
Jesus.
You're gonna tell me that Janty's not gonna have 25 touches in that game?
No, he'll have 25 touches.
And that's what I'm worried about when we talk about Penn State here is that I don't like. So both Ohio State's and Oregon's running backs had 14 touches for 95 and 124. I'm sorry, you've seen teams stack the box with 9 guys, and Janty has still just done what he does.
Right, but what if they? And yes, you just said they stack the box with 9, and he does it anyways. But why not game plan to make?
What do you think Oregon did?
I want to agree with you. I want to say Boise State wins this game.
I don't want to say that Boise State wins this game. If I'm going to take the spread on this, I'm going to take Boise State covering it because I don't think Janty gets enough respect.
My other problem is Boise State's not on this list up here at all, and Penn State's got Nicholas Singleton. He's also up there. He's probably the second best back in the Big Ten. Coming off the top of my head, I could be forgetting about someone, but off the top of my head,
he didn't even rush for 1,000 yards.
He's also splitting time. Rushing for 1,000 yards in college, not the same.
But that's still he still didn't even rush for 1,000 yards.
I'm just saying he's talented. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
He can be talented, but you're looking at it right now. Janty has 2.5 times the yards.
Where is Boise State on the rushing yards? Holy crap! Please hold. They're 12th. I missed them completely.
Huh? Interesting. So you're telling me that they don't have a bad rush defense?
I wasn't going to say they had when I was looking it up before I said anything dumb, and I'm glad I looked it up because I would have said something dumb. How is their rush defense? It's right here.
So the thought on that, I think, is that if I had to take away, and I think we had a side bet that we put in on that for this Penn State game. I like Janty for 175 and 2.
And I took the under on that. We have a bet going for it, so we'll see what happens. The guy has been superhuman all year.
I don't think
absolutely has every possibility to do that.
So it's hard to And that's the thing, like, even looking at, like, where, like, ESPN has the matchup predictor on this, like, Penn State's only a 65% chance to win.
Well, predictor. A lot of people are probably taking Boise State because it's a decent matchup for them.
No, 100%, but it's one of those that, like, I'm sorry, like, you're talking about a team that gets for the most part, every player they probably want to, like, get an opportunity at against Boise State.
All right, question.
It's not like Boise State's like ever gonna really just have like a guy that like a 5-star recruit that's just like, yeah, I want to go play there.
Right. So I wonder. So you know how in the bowl games they have like, oh, these are Big 12 refs, and it's like not a big, like no Big 12 teams in it. Do you think it'll be a Big 10 reffing crew?
If it's a Big
And
10
let me finish before you say that it's maybe like skewed one way or another. But do you think that they would use a Big 10 referee crew?
if they use a Big 10 reffing crew, I'd be pissed off.
Here's the thing. On this stat sheet that I've got here, it has penalties, like per game. The top 5 teams all play in the Big 10 in least penalized teams.
Crazy.
That's nuts. I was just curious, and it popped up. I was like, that's wild.
If I had to, I'd like to see like an SEC or a Big 12 reffing crew for that. Because you have no
Big 12 doesn't throw a lot of flags either. Houston, Kansas, and Kansas State are in the top 10. No SEC. Pretty much anywhere near this list. Florida.
I would much prefer.
Not that matters. It's just an interesting stat.
A reffing crew that's not ever tied to said team.
I agree. I think that'd be the best way to avoid any sort of conference
bias.
Bias. I don't think the refs have anything to do with that. There's no incentive for the refs to do that, in my opinion, when it comes to how and what. You're looking at me like you.
And if, you act like refs don't.
I'm not saying they don't, but I just don't see it for the college game.
I don't know. Like it's one of those that like I just
like how does that benefit the refs themselves?
I don't know. You put $10,000 on the underdog to win it.
That's not conference bias, though. Is what I'm saying.
But it's still. It could be conference bias in the fact of like you put money on Penn State to win it.
That's just team bias. It's nothing to do with conference.
I don't know. Like I said, I like Boise State to cover. I think they've got a good shot at upsetting Penn State in that situation.
Okay, so say they do. Do you think they have a shot against the Notre Dame or Georgia?
I do. I don't know if anybody's defense is ready to sit there and deal with Janty for 4 games.
Here's the thing: if he goes off, I think Travis Hunter should just give him the award.
He won't.
No, we won't. But he should.
He shouldn't. Travis Hunter shouldn't even been in the conversation.
Started the show like this. We're going to end the show like this, I guess.
Travis Hunter shouldn't have been in the conversation for Heisman.
That's not 100% true. Yes, I wouldn't agree with that statement.
Did he lead any category?
No, but I think he deserved to be a finalist.
Oh, why? Because he played a ton of snaps.
It's like 93 catches, over 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. He was second in touchdowns and 6th in yards and like 11th in catches, something like that.
Cool, be a receiver.
I think honestly, the losses, stand out more than his stats. To where that'd be a better argument to not have him as a finalist due to his losses.
And that thing, like if you trade teams on that, where does Boise State sit with Travis Hunter, and where does Janty sit with Colorado?
Oh, Janty will walk away with the Heisman. Like there wouldn't even be a ceremony because it would be a waste of money to have those guys fly out to New York.
Exactly. So and that's where I sit at with a lot of this. And
Colorado's probably playing in the college football playoff with a first round.
100%.
Yeah.
Like Janty would have probably still ran for what he ran for.
Probably pretty close. I'd say probably less.
I don't know if he would have ran for over 2,500 yards, but I still think he still runs for over 2.
Mhm.
And I think that's the other slap in the face when we talk about JT is because if you look at the last 3 Heisman's running backs that have won it, he blew them out of the water.
Yeah.
The only difference is they played on really big, high-profile teams.
Yeah. It's just what everyone was afraid the Heisman was going to turn into, which was a popularity contest, and that shouldn't be how it is.
No, like
It should be for the guy that deserves it.
You take JT off that Boise State team, and they're probably like a 4-win team.
Yeah, probably. Like it's very much, it's the MVP of the league, obviously.
Right.
But I mean, it's very much saying like, who is the most valuable player to their team and drove them to success. JT carried that team to success, and they're
Right.
a buy in the college football playoff, and they're like, we could go on and on about this. We really could.
And I think you talk about the MVP, like as we talk about NFL MVP right now. Who do you think it is? I've got it narrowed to 2.
It's down to 2. It's Jackson or Allen.
Let's rephrase. I've got it to 3 because I knew you were going to go with those 2. Who's your third?
You could throw Barkley in there. I'd be okay with throwing Barkley in there.
Barkley's not even my third.
What?
Burrow.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. You brought that up last time too.
Like Burrow,
again,
I feel bad for Burrow because of that fucking defense.
Yeah, it's really screwed him. But he does, he leads it in, passing touchdowns and yards, I think is what you said.
I think so. Let's see.
I don't know if he still is, but I think
Burrow now currently leads in passing yards by over 600 yards.
Jesus.
Like that's insane.
What's wild for the Bengals is like it's not like they haven't had a run game. Like Chase Brown has been excellent this year. And he's still Burrow is putting up these numbers, but he's not going to win the MVP because
it's crazy.
I don't think the Bengals are making the playoffs.
No, which have you seen the fact of there's somebody came out and said you almost view it is the NFL's viewed as a entertainment league. So it's one of those you sit there and take into consideration how the NCAA was able to sit there and make their decisions on who decided to be in the playoffs. So is there one of these teams for the NFL and one of these dog shit conferences that shouldn't make the fucking playoffs? Do you sit there and go, you know what? We'd rather have the Bengals in
here. Yeah.
No, and I think a lot of that is it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so if it's not Burrow, who would be your runner-up to Burrow? It'd
be Barkley. I think Barkley definitely if he plays next game and and I think this is a whole regardless and I've had this conversation with other people is I think there should be a separate award for quarterbacks.
Well, that means you're just saying quarterbacks can't win the MVP is what you're saying with that.
The problem is that when's the last time we saw a non-quarterback win the MVP?
I couldn't tell you when. I think you looked it up last time, but I couldn't tell you when.
Was it Adrian Peterson, maybe?
It was Adrian Peterson. Yep, it was. I like how you can do that. You can do it. I remember it sparks my memory. It was. It was AP in 2012?
Yeah, exactly. It's 12 because that's when AP ran for over 2,000 yards.
Right. Yeah.
Can you tell me who won the MVP in 2009?
No.
Probably Chris Johnson if I had to take a wild step because that's when he ran for 2,000.
CJ2K.
So you're going to tell me a guy ran for over 2K and you're not going to give it to him? When the last 2 times that it's happened, you've given it to him?
If he breaks the record, let's see. That's the thing.
You're now getting into semantics because you're about to have the same conversation because if Janky does what I think he could do against Penn State, he breaks Barry Sanders' record.
How many yards off is he?
Spit in the fucking face.
How many yards is he off the record for? 150?
100. I don't even think it's 150.
I know Barkley you said was 101 before we started.
So Barkley is, I think it's less than 125 yards.
Mm-hmm. I thought he was I thought JT was 154 off the record, off breaking it. So 153 from tying.
Let's see. JT's got 24.97 right now.
That's nuts. He needs I know it's over 100. Was it like 26? I feel like it's like something that ends with a 4. 26.
26, 28.
I was, double 4.
So you're looking at 131 yards.
Yeah, he'll go over that. I think he'll break it. I think JT will break it. If Barkley plays, he'll break it. He'll break Dickerson's record.
Yeah, he's playing the fucking Giants.
If he plays.
I don't think he does.
I don't think he plays. Which
should.
sucks.
I mean, I
but
wouldn't.
I think you're going to see Will Shipley play a lot.
Let's see. Passing statistics. So Joe Burrow has the most passing yards. He has the most touchdowns right now.
Right, but his team is 8-9. Or is going to finish 8-9, whatever the math works out there.
Right, but it's still like he's got a better passing percentage than Lamar does.
Yeah. But what about total yards? Because you got to take into account Lamar's running. You got to take into account Josh Allen's running. How many touchdowns do they have on the ground? Like what impact? Yes, Burrow makes an impact. His defense is absolutely.
Do you realize that
the impact that both of those players have on their teams?
Do you realize that if Lamar was just a running back, he'd be 20th in the league in rushing yards?
That's crazy. That's nuts.
He has 852 rushing yards.
Yeah. My pick right now. I would love to see Josh Allen to get the award. I think it's well deserved, but Lamar Jackson isn't like without Lamar, the Ravens are 2-win team.
Like without Burrow, where are the Bengals?
Without Burrow, the Bengals are probably
0-16.
0-16. But that doesn't. You can't. You're not going to see an MVP go to a team that's not making the playoffs. When was the last time that happened?
So if Burrow throws for 369 yards in his last game, he breaks 5K.
Drew Brees has numbers.
That's the thing. Like the closest person to him is Geno Smith at 40.97.
Yeah. Again, if they didn't have Burrow, they would be just bottom of the NFL for sure. But
what do you justify as most valuable player?
Most valuable to your team's success. There's been no success.
Is that not?
There's been no success. They're 8-9. There's no success.
They'd be 0-16 right now.
You're right. They would be.
Is that not success?
I'm not disagreeing with you here at all. I'm just saying there's no success, given that his defense has let him down. His defense has lost him the MVP award.
Like his defense has just been dog shit.
I agree, but that's why I'm saying I would love for it to go to Barkley. I think Jackson wins it.
I think Barkley deserves it for what he's done.
I think he's really led that team. I think
100%. And that's the thing. Like he's had times like he probably should have already broken that record because there's been games where they've blown people out where Sirianni's asked him like, "Hey, do you want to go back in?" And he's gone, "No, give it to the younger guy."
JT. He's missed 2 games total?
Who?
Just from sitting quarters?
JT?
Yeah. Same thing.
So it's one of those, and Barkley's been a team player and go, "No, give the younger guys the reps."
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
okay, before we end the show, I got one more question. I saw this on a Facebook group. Funny enough.
Oh, dude, that Commanders Falcons game's in OT.
Oh wow! I just saw it was 24-17 a little bit ago, but
it's 24-24.
I'm gonna just quick snippet on hockey. What is your take, or what do you think of Jake Ottinger?
I mean, he's been good. I mean, like,
do you think he could take that the Stars could win a cup with Jake Ottinger?
I think so.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad. There was someone on Facebook in a Stars group that I'm in that was like, "Oh yeah, we're never winning a cup with Ottinger. We need to move on." And
what do you mean, like,
it made 0 sense to me. 0 cents.
They won.
It's
They
made
won
0 cents.
tonight 5-1.
Yeah, well, they're saying, well, he always allows like stupid. It's like, yeah, like they're not gonna, they don't stop everything. Shutouts are a rarity in the NHL now. Like skill players are getting better every year.
Great. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games tonight. How many shutouts?
None. One. I just guessed.
Only
and who was
Golden Knights.
the Golden Knights were shut out?
No, the Flames got shut out by the Golden Knights.
Well, the Flames have been pretty mid this year, I feel like, but
they still have a winning record.
Okay, better than I thought they were. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to hockey recently.
17, 12, and 7.
Okay.
So it's not like you can say that Flames team is atrocious.
Mm-hmm. It's not as bad as they were last year.
No, and
but okay, yeah. I just wanted to get your take on that because I'm a big Jake Ottinger fan. I think he's the best goalie we've had since probably Turco and/or Belfour.
No,
Belfour was really short-lived, but
I think Ottinger's fine. I think it's one of those ones that goalies catch the brunt of this because of the fact
they're the last line of defense.
They're the last line of defense, and if you get into a position where you're down 1-0, 2-0, like it's just a downhill spiral.
Yeah. He's also top 5 in goals against average at 2.88, which is, like I said, top 5 in the league. But the Stars also score goals well above that. So if we just don't we have to score goals.
You have to score.
We have to score 3 goals a game. We should be able to do that. Like the Stars, I say we, like we're Stars fans, obviously. The Stars should be able to do that with the talent they have on offense. And their defense isn't anything to, their defense has been pretty good. Like with the stats, well, I don't know all the stats on the defense, but like Heiskanen, Lindell,
Harley, top 10 goalie.
Yeah, like I would put him. I mean,
out of 26 games right now, he's 16-9-1.
Yeah, I think he's in the top 5 in wins too.
Yeah, like
you're not going to win every game, but it's not like we're gonna the guy on Facebook was saying that Smith would be better in goal.
He's top if you view it how ESPN does. He's top 3, and you've got fuck, I don't know how to say that guy's fucking last name. Winnipeg's goalie.
Oh, Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, I'm not butchering that. He's got 23. He's got 23 wins.
Yeah, no, Winnipeg's having an outstanding season.
They're on top Mark of Storm, who's got 19, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. New Jersey.
Who?
Jacob Markstrom.
Oh, Jacob Markstrom.
Yeah. He's got 19, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are tied at 16 wins.
Yeah.
And Jake's
I don't really look at wins personally. I'm more of the goals against average and save percentage. He doesn't have the greatest save. Ottinger didn't have the greatest save percentage. I think it's 0.908. I think it was 11th when I looked at it.
Goals against average, he's top 10.
Yeah, I think he's right up there.
2.44.
But I mean, in the playoffs, Jake Ottinger is just another being. I was lucky enough to see a playoff game with Jake Ottinger in it a few years ago. Guy stood on his head. That guy will throw himself in front of any puck and do whatever it has to take.
So,
which most NHL goalies will do, but I think to win a cup, we have a goalie to do that.
Out of the top 10 goalies right now, shots against, he has 660 shots against him, and he's allowed 61 goals. So you take that. The only other
it's under 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll take that all day long.
Yeah. I mean, guys. I mean, those top guys are shooting at like a 15% clip. So to have under 10.
1, 2. There's 3 other goalies that have had more shots against them.
Really? So the Stars will have a lot of shots.
Okay. Yeah. You have Connor, Jacob, Markstrom, and then who was the other one? Yeah, the Predators goalie. Gustavsson.
The Predators have it's not UC Star. Is UC Stars not on the Predators?
No,
anymore?
not Predators. Minnesota Wild. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's Gustafsson.
Yeah, those are the only 3 that have more shots against them.
Who was the other one? It was Hellebuck, Gustafsson, and Markstrom.
Yeah.
3 of those teams are in the Central.
Yeah.
They're all in the same division. Wild. All right, but I think we call it here.
And I think that's well, as we call this, like I said, I think Ottinger is fine. I think it's going to be one of those ones that this goes into the same thing as when you talk about why you're losing, and we had this conversation with the Bengals. Like, if your defense doesn't do what they need to do, it doesn't matter how good your offense is. So my thought on that comes down to is that defense has to step up, and I think that Stars D is great. I think that it makes, definitely in hockey, if you can get early goals, it makes your goalie's life a lot easier.
Absolutely. And the Stars,
you get up 1 or 2 goals early, it makes your fucking goalie's life 50% easier, because he's not worried about giving up on like when you've got a 0-0 game in the like second or third period and he gives up a goal and he fucking lets one through and he's like, well, fuck me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then your psyche on that is like, you've given up 1, now you're in your head. What are the odds you give up a second? If you've given up your second, what happens to a third?
Right. I mean, I've also seen Andre give up a goal that I think he probably should have stopped. And I'm sure you could ask him, yeah, I probably should have, there's a couple that I probably should have stopped, but they're not going to save every shot. It's just it's not possible. Whether it should have been a routine save or not, or he just got crossed up on something like that kind of stuff happens. But
we'll finish this with this. His stats from tonight's game, he had 1 goal against him, 25 shots against him, and 24 saves.
Yeah.
I will take those.
I mean, that is against the Blackhawks. So,
right.
But I mean, they're still NHL players. Like, it's still impressive.
They're still. It's not like Dallas outshot them by like a ton. It was a 35-25.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the thing. Like, Chicago, if you look at it, was a more aggressive team. Like, when hits, which I think when you're hitting people, like, you're getting in people's heads.
Yeah, that's the whole idea of it. Make them uncomfortable.
But like I said, we'll wrap it up on that. But like I said, I like Ottinger. I think the Stars are definitely one of those teams that, and we'll get into this after college football's done, just because it's so hard not to talk about it. And we'll start talking about some other sports. But I don't think you look at that Stars team and don't think that there's not a chance for them to play in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely a contender for sure. I think given the long-term IR cap availability that they have with Sagan, and it sucks. I'd much rather have him than have the cap be open, to be honest with you. I think he started the season really hot. But given that, we may be able to add a defender to bolster that defense in front of Ottinger and make it that. We don't really need much scoring help. We could add something, sure, but like go out and get that defender that we need to really.
I'll finish this podcast on this. I think you could see the same Stanley Cup NBA, 2 of the same teams in that. I think you could see the Dallas Stars, and I think you could see the Mavs in that again.
Bro, if that's the case, if that happens, I feel bad for the court crew and the ice crew of both those teams.
100%. Like that's a brutal time to be able to.
I think it takes them 6 hours to switch in between each of them.
But like I said, both of those Dallas teams have looked great. It'll be interesting because we're coming up here in the next month or 2 on the trade deadline. I think you'll see Dallas, the Mavs, make a couple trades just to solidify that, because I think they've said Luka's going to be out the next at least month.
He's out. He'll be reevaluated in a month. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, as of right now, the Mavs without Luka are 7-3.
That's impressive.
Right.
I don't really follow basketball much, so
I do. I love basketball. Last time we had an issue where our star player went out for an extended amount of time in December, and everybody wrote the season off, was 2011. You want to know what happened in that season?
It's right behind me, my guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I was at a couple of those games actually.
Yeah, so it's one of those that Dirk went out in like early mid December. Everybody wrote the season off. Team got us into the playoffs. We were a 5 seed, and then everything was written from there. I would say, and we'll finish this with this stat right here. I think that is the greatest NBA playoff run that you have ever seen. Portland, the 2-time defending champion Lakers, a Oklahoma City Thunder team that everybody was high on with Harden, Durant, and Westbrook, and then you went with the big 3, which have you seen some of the conversations that people have had about that, where like they were talking about that big 3, and Dirk literally went, "Well, if it was a big 3, they would have came and fucking got me."
That sounds like something Dirk would do.
Right, but he didn't need to say that to anybody else out in public, because he's one of those guys that was humble as all, and he went into Miami, got it, and he got his ring.
That was awesome to see too. I got to see that as well, in front of LeBron to get
right,
because they beat LeBron, and then they played him the first home game next year to do the rings, and LeBron had to stand there and watch them get all their rings, which was
you love it,
cool to see. Is that one? But
we'll catch this one. We'll catch up on the next episode.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's going to do it for the Going for Two podcast. Remember to leave us a little review on Spotify if you could. We are on. I do some clips on TikTok. Check those out if you haven't already. Give us a follow over there. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Appreciate it.